Around and round we go. Where do we go? Nobody knows, except I do. And today we are going to be talking about finding funding opportunities for work and study abroad. In this episode, I'm going to talk about ways that you can research for funding opportunities for your study abroad, or if you're trying to find different opportunities to do your work abroad with resources that I have seen throughout the years. Without further ado, let's begin. Studying abroad. After middle school, educational institutions have more access to funding for study abroads. Due to high school students still being minors, there's a higher limitation on opportunities for those students to go abroad, but they still exist. This typically occurs within the school, and the most common form to go study abroad is through an international exchange program. There are different club opportunities outside of the school for that. For example, Rotary Club, and there are some private companies that will allow for international exchange just as long as you can get it approved by your education facility. That would be for students who would want to either spend a spring or a fall abroad. I would say, due to the conflict of not trying to jeopardize any of the high school students' grades, more parents opt for summer abroad. And the summer abroads, typically you're going to pay out of pocket, with a lot of private companies acknowledging that this will be mostly out of pocket. They have some opportunities to give full funding or even partial funding. So what you would do is you'll find a organization that deals with high school study abroad, make sure that it's valid and they're kind of known around so you don't have to deal with any safety issues. Then what you'll do is you'll kind of look at the programs that you want, and for bigger websites, they have like an FAQ, and towards the bottom they will talk about financial assistance opportunity programs. This means either A, they can put you on a payment plan that can maybe extend right before this child can go abroad, or it will talk about different forms that you can fill out to apply for financial assistance in the form of scholarship or grants, or even a sweepstake. Another way that they do it is through a summer form competition where it could be a summit or a class, but for you to get enrollment that is free, you have to win the said competition. And for that, you would typically see that they would have multiple documentations put together, such as terms and conditions that outline the procedure on how it's valid. They typically have an FAQ section, answer any questions, and a contact email just in case you need clarification on a form or on the procedures to file for it. Depending on the organization, they'll tell you the different requirements that are needed. Some organizations are going to require that you be a certain financial status. Others are going to require that you are maybe a certain ethnicity, gender, because they're trying to do more outreach programs. So when I was in middle school and high school, I was looking into them. The ones that I can remember off of the top of my head, I have listed. One was the EF Towards Leadership Summit. The requirement was for you to answer the theme of the Leadership Summit. If you won, you would have been offered an opportunity for an all expense paid, I think for you and one parent, to go to the location of the summit, which would be located in another country. And you would then present on your idea at the said summit. Have I ever heard anybody winning it? No, but if you look at the EF Tours website, they do have the winners located somewhere. This summit doesn't last more than, I think, a week. So it would just be a week abroad, typically in the summertime. Next one I figured out was the Oxbridge program. So the Oxbridge program, according to the website, was a hybrid of Oxford and Cambridge, where they took in international students and they allowed them to do a summer term abroad. So when I looked it up, it was in France, but it was like two different cities like Nice and Paris. And then they had London. You were able to do different programs. You were able to pick your classes, your schedule. It was all there. You could pay for it out of pocket, but then they also had a scholarship full ride program. The only thing the full ride did not pay for was your airline ticket. So when I applied in 2014, unfortunately, I was not able to attend. There were some communication concerns because my parent wasn't able to get in contact with the representatives as needed. I'm just mentioning this because I wasn't able to verify how legit this was. No one else around me knew about this program. So I am putting it out there, but I will say kind of look it over with a fine tooth comb to confirm whether or not it is legit. The next place I know is legit, and that is CIEE for high schoolers. So CIEE will be brought up again for college and work because they're meant to do international education. So because they're covering high school, college, and professionals, they are the most verified to do these trips abroad. In their website, they have a link to talk about different scholarship opportunities for the kids who go through their program. Some you're able to apply for when you fill out your high school application. Others you're going to have to fill out a separate form for, but you will have to go to their website to confirm which ones are eligible for which type of funding. The next one is the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club is known in high school for different things, but one of the things that aren't as commonly mentioned is the fact that they give opportunities to their students to do exchange. Now, these exchange programs can also happen in college, but when mentioned, they can also happen in high school as well. So they could take like two different students and they'll try to help them be placed in a sister community that also has a Rotary Club. I know that with the Rotary Club, there is a membership fee. However, I don't know if that can be waived. You would have to go to your branch Rotary Club and ask them all that information. And then the final high school opportunity I know about was the NSLIY. This is a government program that is targeted for uncommon languages. So I remember one of the languages was like Arabic, I think Hindu, Mandarin, Russian or Turkish, and possibly Japanese. The point of this program was so that they could build up translators and do language learning programs. So what they did was for a summer, you can apply on their website. They take them within like a certain period. You fill out the application form. You should be able to choose the language in which you want to study. You'll fill out that form. They will tell you within a certain amount of time whether or not you're eligible or you've been accepted. From there should be a schedule in which they're going to tell you. So, this program is mainly for language learning. It's going to be a language immersion program and it's going to be a language intensive program. So, when you get there, your main goal is to learn the language. There might be a after program requirement that you must complete to make sure that the funding is finalized. And that covers all of high school. Now college. College is a bit more unique because you're an adult and you're able to take on debts of your own. There are way more opportunities for you. I recommend that if there's a college that you want to go look into their Center for International Education. That's what's going to tell you all of the different opportunities that can exist for you at that college. And they also give insights for different study abroad scholarships and grants that aren't just eligible for those students. If the college's Center for International Education isn't blocked by being on a portal, you should be able to scroll through every opportunity, figure out the ones you like, click on the link. Once you click on the link, you'll be able to see all of the required information for that scholarship. The only thing that is required of you is that you are a college student. There are also scholarships where the requirement is that you are a student at that certain education institution. But to get a feel of those scholarships, I recommend that you start there first. There are also private company study abroad organizations that work with colleges as well. And they themselves have separate funding opportunities. So when I was in college, the main study abroad opportunities came from CIEE, EF College Abroad, IES, I think AIFS. I would say go and verify that within your college's Center of International Education database. They should have a portal for that where it does list off all of the third party organizations. In addition to undergraduate study abroad opportunities, there are options for graduate and postgraduate study abroad opportunities as well. I'm going to list the ones I have applied for and I'll tell you whether or not I've had success for them. So one was the Thomas J. Watson. This is only eligible for certain colleges. I think it's 40 colleges, and you have to be a senior in college and you have to graduate from that institution. The opportunity is to receive up to $40,000 in just for 1 year of travel doing a passion project. You will have to figure out more information and figure out if your college is eligible. Gilman gives an opportunity for you to either do a term abroad or to do a summer abroad. I applied for the summer abroad and I was awarded $4,000, though the max they can give you in scholarships is $8,000. Typically, that is contingent on whether or not you're going to do a term abroad and what country are you trying to do that term in. Next, you have the Boren Fellowships. These can be for your undergraduate and or graduate program. What's going to happen in this one is that you have to give them an itinerary on how long you want to study abroad. What does that encompass? And in return, you are able to get a certain amount. I think the minimum that would be approved is $8,000, but there's a caveat to it. I just don't remember what it was for, but it's still great nonetheless if you're able to get it. Okay, the next one I have listed is Fulbright. And Fulbright, if I'm not mistaken, is a graduate funding opportunity. So Fulbright covers two areas. It is graduate research, I think postgraduate research, and teaching abroad. So once you graduate out of college, you're really eligible to apply for it. And the requirements are that you fill out which country you're trying to go to. You have to select that certain country, and you'll be competing with everybody who is trying to be there. The winner will either get a stipend to do their research abroad, or you will be getting paid a certain amount to go teach abroad. This one I've seen had a multitude of countries. So if you're looking for a unique one, I recommend trying to see if Fulbright has it and applying for it. After that one is Critical Language Scholarship, which is CLS. So the CLS is similar to the high school version of the NSLIY. The goal of this scholarship or grants is to have more people learn a language so that there are translators and interpreters for that in the US. So the point is you apply, you tell them what country you want to go to, you give them the criterias that you have, and if they approve you, you'll be able to do a language immersion opportunity that is very intensive. So by the time you finish, you should be at a high fluency level. For graduate students, there is a scholarship in China called the Schwarzman. Basically, it's a fully funded MBA program for the brightest of students. You apply, you show them that you have your leadership skills. If you're approved, you'll have your stipend and all of your expenses paid to do your MBA program. The next one I know is MEX, which is MEXT. This one is made for Japan, and it is a funding opportunity to do your research program. Typically, they have different requirements. There's STEM opportunities and more. The funding can cover the max amount of your expenses here. It just depends on everything else. I don't. Okay. And the final one that I know about is the GKS program, which is similar to the MEX, but it is specifically for Korea, and it can have your funding cover everything for your study abroad there. Those are the main ones that I know. However, there are ways to get a cheaper version of a study abroad with your college. If your college has direct exchange programs, that means you're able to pay your tuition back at the college while having everything covered at the sister college. Certain educational institutions do it, others don't. And so you have to go through a third party organization to get it done. Some colleges have their own special programs that are done during the summer that is like an abroad trip. So imagine in middle school or high school, the EF tour summer programs that were like 7 days, 10 days, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but it will cover a class. So then for them, depending on what type of government scholarships or private donor funding they receive, they're able to give you a scholarship package as well. It's important for when you're trying to fund your study abroad that you consider every aspect and how it can go towards your benefit. So for me, I applied for the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. I applied for the summer in Japan and I got approved for the $4,000. However, due to COVID, Japan was still closed off. I had to have a discussion with my abroad advisor and talk about what different opportunities could I use. They said because I got the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship, I only have a year's time to get it done. Even though I did it for the summer, they could migrate it into the fall. So what happened was they mentioned to me a direct exchange program in South Korea. And they also mentioned that due to the fact that I'm now moving from a summer abroad to a term abroad, I was able to get my tuition covered like I would in a direct exchange. And I was still able to use the Benjamin Scholarship towards my funding. Then, on top of all of that, they gave out a scholarship just for the fact that I went abroad for the fall. So, the only requirement that I had, mainly at the end of it, was about 1,000 US dollars. And because I wasn't going in the summer anymore, I was able to work the summer to cover up all of my funding for the fall abroad. They also had other stipends and scholarship opportunities that were added on top of that. So the result was me being able to have a full study abroad opportunity, me being able to pay everything off by the end of the spring term. The only thing that was a downside for when you're doing a term abroad is the fact that I had to make sure that every class I took within Korea was able to be transferable to my home college and that I will still receive the proper credits and score for it, which means you had to fill out all of this paperwork to get it done. If you're a second year college student and you have a lot of electives that you haven't completed, then I recommend that's the best time for you because whatever you put in, you're able to choose more and it will still go towards what you want. Just make sure that it follows your schedule, I guess. Typically, they call it a course sequence where you have to figure out which classes are available during which terms of the year. Because if you miss that, then I would recommend you having to take that while you're abroad so that way you don't be behind and maybe have to extend your stay. And I think that covers all of the study abroad. Now, work abroad opportunities. These are unique because there are government funding work opportunities. Then you have to actually get hired by an actual company and see if you're eligible to even do a work abroad opportunities. There are companies that want expats and they will hire them off the front. A lot of times they don't because there are a lot of legal requirements. So most of the time they just do internal hires, upgrade them, and then send them abroad instead of just trying to hire new people to come abroad. For those type of opportunities, you should look into big multinational corporations that have multiple branches worldwide. So EF Tours, they have different job opportunities and it will tell you what location you need to be in for that job opportunity. And it will mention whether or not they will give you visa support. I think big banks, like international banks, they have different abroad opportunities. You can also try to be a translator or interpreter and see if they require you to do any international traveling and or placement somewhere else. When I was looking for employment, I think the big companies that were trying to take foreigners and allowing them to be moved was SMBC, I think MUFJ, Netflix, and there was like this military cars auto sales company, but I didn't like it, so I just avoided it altogether. I didn't know if you had to sign up for the military to be that, or if they just took people in and they was gonna put them there. Because when you go start looking, you'll just see that military auto sales thing. Another common opportunity for people who want to work abroad and to get assistance traveling wise is to work under as a teacher. That's the easiest way to do it because once you get your bachelor's degree and you come from a predominant English speaking country, a lot of people would recruit you, whether that's for you to work or if they will give you visa support to move abroad. It's so common that there is a database to hold all of the teaching English abroad opportunities. I think the website name is daveesl like .com. That's where a lot of the international teaching opportunities will come through. Also, majority of the big teaching English as a foreign language certification programs, which will be seen as TEFL, they also have a job database. So once you complete your certification with that organization, they then will allow you to go look through their job database to see what might be for you. That wraps up non-government funded work opportunities. Now we can talk about government funded work opportunities. Again, a top contender is teaching English. So you have your JET program, which is your Japanese exchange teaching program. You have your EPIC program, which stands for English program in Korea. There's the NET program. I think that's for Hong Kong. There's one for Spain, but I can't remember the acronym for it. There's one for Taiwan. I want to say there's one for Vietnam, but I haven't heard much for South America and Africa. Typically, those teaching assistant programs would fall under two companies that are from the government, and that is Fulbright, where you can apply to be an English teaching assistant, or Peace Corps. And Peace Corps is a bit unique because they'll have you fill out a form. They'll figure out if you're eligible to be a part of that program. If you are, they're going to use the skills that you have and they're going to place you in a country. I think recently they will allow you to kind of apply for the countries that you want, but I don't know if it's like it's a preference and they make the final decision, or if you apply and they will only make you eligible for that program. They cover all the expenses. Typically, they help out with business development in different countries, medical assistance in different countries, teaching assistance in those countries, and there's, I think, translation assistance in those countries as well. However, you're meant to match the needs. And for the countries that are there, it's listed on their website. So remember, they typically cover South America and African countries, with some in Asia. I think one was like Malaysia, Cambodia, and Laos. And for some strange reason, I also want to say like North Macedonia was also included in one of the countries that you could be going to. But the overall purpose is that you're there to volunteer and to fill the need that the government wants. Fulbright, you have the choice to apply for it. And if you don't get in, you don't get in. And all of these programs are fully funded. So not only will they help you with your housing, you should be able to get like a living allowance as well. And that's about it. If I know more, I'll probably make a mini episode about more recent discoveries. But until then, around and around we go. Where did we go? We went and talked about funding opportunities for study and work abroad. Next episode, I will be talking about startup hurdles for when you are moving abroad. This is going to be catered towards Japan as I have my moving abroad in Japan. So I'll see you around.